Oh, you damn right. Let's get you a modcast for a beautiful Tuesday. And it's pretty hot. I mean, beautiful is a stretch of this time of year. We hope you're getting through June just fine. There's recruiting updates to hit. College football is coming pretty quickly, 74 days as we're talking to you until Texas plays Ohio State. We got a couple of those OB mods in here for you. Jason Sukamel's right there, orangebloods.com. That's Anwar Richardson, orangebloods.com. Our man Alex Dunlap is taking care of some kid issues, being a dad today, taking care of some things. So we appreciate you guys jumping in and checking us out. Remember, if you want to throw a super chat our way, it'll go right to the top of the list. And before we do anything else, let's shout out Daly and Black. You'll see them in the lower left corner the whole time, but let's throw up a QR code. If you need a lawyer, that'll be on your side and treat you the right way and make sure you get what you deserve, Daly and Black is the place. And remember, it's DALY, Daly and Black, and they are the sponsors of the Modcast each and every week, and we appreciate y'all jumping in already, folks jumping in, including those north of the border. What's up, Uncle Mickey? Hope you're having a good one. Jason, we'll start with some recruiting stuff because it is full blast right now, coming off of the second big weekend. We've got the third big weekend coming up this weekend, and for those that have been following with names, last weekend was Ojo. This weekend is turn time for all you offensive line fans. So, but the show today, we kind of centered it around Jaylen Lot, one of the legacy guys that's in this class, or Texas fans would like to be in this 26 recruiting class. So we're going to get a little update because I know you had a chance to speak with Jaylen Lot after his visit, correct?
I did. Monday afternoon, I called him, and honestly, Jaylen, let's say he doesn't do a lot of interviews, but he's kind of hit or miss. Super nice kid, but he's not always a guy that likes to do a lot of interviews. So I was really glad to get him on the phone. But yeah, I talked to him on Monday. Obviously, his visit ended on Sunday. He had a great visit down to Texas. A couple things stood out, Chad, if I'm just kind of nutshelling it. He pushed his commitment date back from July 4th to July 8th. Didn't really give me a reason for that. I'm sure, maybe he's got plans on July 4th. A lot of other guys are committing on July 4th. Give himself a few more days to kind of filter through this process. The other thing, I noticed he had put on Instagram, he put several pictures from his visit, but one was a picture of him and Texas wide receivers coach Chris Jackson. And when we're talking about the highlights of the visit, it was, hey, talking to Coach Jackson and this, that, and the other. I said, well, hey, Jaylen, you haven't mentioned DB. Are they exclusively recruiting you at receiver now? He said, yeah, it's all receiver now. I said, okay, that's interesting. And I said, well, is that like something you requested, or they just transitioned to that on their own? He goes, nah, I kind of wanted that to be recruited as a receiver. So Texas, did that. And I think it's helped Texas's chances. He's got the Oregon official visit this coming weekend. He said he doesn't really have a favorite. He said he's genuinely pretty torn. Now, when I talked to him back in the spring, I don't think he'd mind me saying this was kind of off the record a little bit. So at the time I didn't quote him, but he kind of said, I'm kind of feeling Oregon right now. So that's changed. I mean, Oregon's still a major threat in the same, but schools like Texas and USC and LSU and Georgia are all in play here. One thing I kind of keep going back to in my mind, he likes Oregon a lot, but the Oregon wide receivers coach, and I'd have to go back and refresh. I think he maybe played running back or something. And he said, hey, I kind of like the idea of being coached by a guy who either played or coached wide receivers at a high level, who's been there, done that. Well, Chris Jackson's played in the NFL. He's coached in the NFL. So, Jaylen did say, hey, that carries a lot of weight. He has so much football knowledge in talking to Chris Jackson this last weekend. And then the other thing, Chad, and I didn't put this in there. I'm going to tease it in my, I'll have it in my rumor mill column tomorrow. So I'm kind of spoiling that a little bit. Everybody knows his parents both went to Texas. His dad played football and ran track at Texas. I said, hey, how much does that have an impact at all, or if at all? And he said, I'm sorry, guys, let me move my mic. I should have done that earlier. He said, to be honest, and this is a quote, it doesn't help that much. He said, I feel like it's my decision. I want to be able to make my own name, not be a follower. But then he kind of circled back and said, hey, but Texas being able to show that would be besides that they would, Texas has been able to show me besides that they would be a good place for me to go. So everybody who's kind of leaning on the legacy thing, and, he could be, downplaying a little bit, but I don't think he's a type of kid just because he's a legacy that he's going to come to Texas. He's got a sister that runs track at USC right now. He's got another sister. I forget where she went to school, but yes, his parents have Texas ties, but his family's pretty spread out. And I do think Jaylen's keeping a pretty open mind.
Interesting. When you mentioned that it's just wide receiver, and that's something that that he's interested in. There's so much talk right now about what Travis Hunter just pulled off at Colorado, but interesting that focus happened. And Jason, correct me if I'm wrong, he ended up, based on that, he was the only wide receiver in this past weekend, correct?
He was. So he got a lot of one-on-one attention with Chris Jackson. It's funny. I'm terrible at these questions, but I get them all the time. Who's a good player comparison for him in the last few years? Someone asked me. I was like, nobody that Texas has recruited. I said, if you go back and look at his film, I said, I'm not saying he's Travis Hunter, right? I'm not saying he's going to be the number 2 draft pick in the draft, but he does have, if you watch his high school film and watch what Travis Hunter did at the collegiate level. Now, can Jaylen be the same kind of productive player at the collegiate level? We'll see. But he has some of that same stuff. He's got short space quickness. He can stretch the field. He's got tremendous ball skills. He can make people miss on defense. Again, great ball skills, even as a quarterback. So he kind of has, kind of a similar frame a little bit, maybe even a little taller than Travis Hunter. So he kind of has some of that. You watch his film, you're like, okay, I can see it. Now, is he going to be Travis Hunter in 4 years, 5 years? I don't know about that, but he does have some of those same skill sets. And initially, Chad, when Texas was mostly talking about him at defensive back, it was like, we're going to recruit you at cornerback, but you'll come in and have a chance to get some plays and some packages on offense and on special teams. Now it's pretty much only receiver. I'm sure they'll still talk to him about special teams, but I am curious if he comes to Texas, does he eventually, okay, you're a receiver, but hey, do you want to get 15, 20 reps on defense in addition to the return game? We'll see, but he's talented enough. I think he could pull it off.
Hey, yeah. Jason, before you go too far, because S. Roan had a question, made a comment, and I know you said something there. Is his dad James Lot? Is that who we're talking about?
Yep, sure is, yeah. High jumper and defensive back at Texas, yep.
Okay, yeah, because I know like you said, the legacy the other day. I was like, well, who the hell's his dad?
And so his mom, I should know this. She was an athlete, and I can't even think somebody in the chat will probably remember what she did. But and Jaylen is a fantastic track and field athlete, particularly in the jumps, like his dad. He does want to try to compete in track and field in college, guys. High jump, long jump, probably triple jump, maybe even if you want to do that. But yeah, so he might try to do the dual sport thing, kind of like his dad did.
Wow.
Yeah, interesting. And it's interesting to me, Anwar, when I think about these guys now, about which ones might want to think about two ways, but then which ones would want to focus in on wide receiver. And as you think about this Texas team, it's been kind of strange, I guess, this last couple of years, where there was the year where there was a lot needed in the transfer portal, but now it's felt like it's not quite as much. And I wonder about Chris Jackson's conversation with a guy like Lot and how they view him. Do they view him as a guy that can come in? You got probably they're hoping 2 years of Arch Manning here, but it's quite a sell. If you want to catch passes and you want to be thought of that way, Chris Jackson has a hell of an argument to make right now.
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, like, I don't think you even have to overthink it. Like, if you got a guy who's that elite, and you basically tell him you can play whatever damn position that you want to play, and then when you get here, like, you could figure it out from there, right? But if he's like, hey, you know what, I really want to play DB, you're like, yep, you would be a fantastic DB, love it. Hey, I think about linebacker, yep, you'll be a fantastic linebacker. And then you get here and, you're like, nah, and guys can read the liner law. There's how many times, Jason, have you written about a guy that, was recruited at one position, he gets here to Texas, and a year or two later, he's at another one. Like Michael Terry, probably going to be a great example of that. He wants to start at receiver. Cool. I mean, will he stay there or will he move to tight end? Right? It's just, so I think with a guy like that,
Roshan Johnson was a quarterback, right?
Roshan Johnson, yes, he was a quarterback, right? You just whatever it takes to get him here. You just tell him whatever. And I'm not saying he can't do it. Like let's not be clear. Like he's obviously an elite athlete, but I'm just if he's like, you know what, a lot of guys are recruiting me as a receiver. And Texas is talking to me as a defensive back. You know what you do? You talk to him as a receiver. And like, you would be a great receiver. Here's Chris Jackson, right? And you make all those things work. So I just think with an elite guys like that, Chad, you just get them on campus and then you just figure it out from there. But you don't have to overthink. It's like the quarterbacks who, all these guys who are quarterbacks in high school, and then you might be able to play quarterback at Texas too. They never take another snap. That kind of thing.
Right.
Quentin Jackson. Former quarterback, right?
Brendan Jackson, there you go. Guys, I always think about the story Chance Mock told about when Chris Sims came to Texas and Sims wanted a particular number. I can't remember. I think it might have been 1 or 11 or whatever it was. And he comes to, and Tim Brewster was, recruiting and trying to get him there, and they get him there. And he walks in and sees the 8 because that's what they put Sims in first. And he goes into him and he's like, "Coach, I got number 8," and he, without blinking, Tim Brewster says, "Just like your boy Troy Aikman," and it made Sims happy, and he walked off. Boom. He was ready with that answer, man. He was ready to go. So we'll see what Jaylen Lot wants to do. Jason, before we leave this discussion, just for you, if it is not Texas, sounds like it is. Is this strictly down to Texas, Oregon for you?
No, I think USC is a factor there. He did visit there recently. Like I said, his sister, I think she's pretty young out there too. She's a track and field athlete. So, you can say that doesn't matter, but listen, my 2 older kids are both at the same college, and it's pretty damn convenient as a parent, let me tell you. Right. So, So, I mean, is that going to be a deciding factor? No, probably not. But is it a check mark for USC that other schools don't have? Sure. So I think Texas, Oregon, I think USC is probably the other team in play there. He did tell me all the schools he visited, LSU, Georgia, Colorado. He goes, hey, they're all pretty close. So, he's not ruling anybody out, or at least that was the official report. But I think Texas, Oregon, USC probably would be, I think the decision will come from that group.
Gotcha. All right. If you guys want to jump in, almost 300 of you in the Specs chat right now. We appreciate you. Speaking of Specs, there is a sale going on. Pay attention.
Kick off summer with Specs Made in America sale. We've got star-spangled savings on all your American-made favorites. All month long at Specs. Cheers to savings.
Spot kind of makes me want to have a bomb pop too.
Yeah, I just where'd the bomb pop come out of? Right? Did they dip the bomb pop into something? I was kind of halfway watching it before I realized it was actually it was like a newer promo there. Did they dip the bomb pop into something?
I think the bomb pop went into the drink. We should watch it again. It's only 15 seconds.
Let me see it again.
Yeah, let's watch again.
Kick off summer with Specs Made in America sale. We've got star-spangled savings on all your American-made favorites. All month long at Specs. Cheers to savings.
You put the bomb. I'll never.
You know what, Omar? Then you drink the drink. You give the bomb pop to your kids, and it's nap time for the kids.
Hey, my daughter loves this snow cone place called Bahama Bucks, and they did one.
My daughter works there, Chad. Yeah.
We love Bahama Bucks, and they stuck a bomb pop in one of the snow cones. We're just jacking it up. Specs is just taking that idea to the next level.
Oh no, I lied. My daughter works. My daughters love Bahama Bucks, but my daughter works at Jeremiah's Italian Ice. Wait, I got my.
Got to get your snow cone places straight.
So you, just real quick before we transition, because this is brand new information for me, right? So you can put like the bomb pop in a bourbon or something like that, or probably a rum. It probably tastes really good, right? A rum or something like that.
Or vodka, maybe even.
I'd say, Anwar, any drink that's known to be, to have that fruity kind of vibe to it. Yeah, a rum drink, a frozen drink. The frozen drink will hold it for you. Yeah. Right? If you do a frozen drink, it'll just hold the bomb pop.
That's pretty. as Mark says, it's great marketing. It's pretty damn genius. I gotta say, props to Specs. They caught my attention. Got
Hell of an idea. There you go. Text guy says, man, a little blue curacao. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with a little blue curacao. It looks like that's what they were putting it in. Shout out to Specs. Thank you guys for jumping in the chat. All right, guys, slight detour. But Chris Bennett asks this. Where were you 31 years ago today? I looked down at the date and I thought, now, why would June 17th matter? And then I realized, oh, that's OJ Day. Where were you guys?
Wait, which one? Is this the Chase Day? Is this
today's White Bronco? Yes, today is White Bronco.
Oh, yeah, it was. It was NBA Finals. Yes, I remember that. Yep.
So, Jason, do you remember what you were doing, where you were?
100%. I was a student at the University of Texas, right? What year would that have been? Because I was driving home to Bay City to see
94.
Yeah, I was a student at UT. Driving home to Bay City that night to see friends and family, Bay City where I'm from. And I'm listening to the NBA Finals game on the radio.
Mm-hmm.
And they broke in, and it was all OJ coverage. I didn't get to hear any of the NBA game on that 3-hour drive home. So, yes, I remember that. Yep.
That's fantastic. Anwar, what were you doing?
Man, I had to do the math on it. So I was 20 years old, which is crazy. And I know I was in college. Like same as Jason, because I watched the NBA religiously, back then. And yeah, that became the thing that literally captivated my life from that point up until the trial. I think I watched this about every day of the trial.
Oh, I skipped school to watch that trial.
Yeah, like it was like must see. I watched all the trial, and then the verdict and everything like that, and everything that happened after that. So, I was at home, nothing special. I was just at home there. But man, yes, I do. God, yeah, Chris Bennett with some odd stuff, crazy.
With the question, yeah, I'm in the same. I was home from college watching the house from my parents while they were on a vacation, and watching NBA Finals on TV. A split screen. The kids would freak out if they were a split screen of NBA Finals on one side and OJ and the Bronco on the other side. It was so crazy. And then Chris Bennett. The other thing I'll remember, Anwar, you mentioned the verdict. Because it was 1990, and I guess it would have been later in 94, maybe it's 95, whatever the verdict was officially announced. But nope, not everybody had phones back then. No. It's not like everybody had. So my favorite professor at A&M, shout out to Dr. Rigsby, he walks back in our class. I think it was a public speaking class. He went outside, heard the verdict, and then he walked back in and told us all. And he did. And I can still see him doing it because we were all just transfixed, on his face. And it was
Good
fantastic.
For you going to class, because I skipped school that day. My roommate and I sat on our couch in the apartment and watched that verdict live.
Yeah, we were in class, and I'll never forget. He started the class by saying, "Look, we all know what's happening today. As soon as it happens, I'm gonna go find out, and we'll talk about it." And he was real cool about it. But yeah, Chris Bennett.
All right. So here's the question.
Yeah.
Did he do it, Chad? Did he? That's the question. Did he do it? Did he do it?
Is that where the show's going today?
I mean, clearly we've been talking about it for the past couple. We might as well come to a conclusion.
I'm not afraid to say he definitely did it. Don't be stupid. Of course he did.
Whoa, look at this. Alex Dunlap jumping in just in time to talk about OJ.
Somehow we're on the OJ trial. Alex
is not going to jump back out. Like, what?
Okay. Did he do it, Chad? Did he do it? Yes or no?
My gut would tell me yes.
Okay.
The evidence would tell you yes.
Also evidence.
Yeah.
My gut is fueled by some evidence, but yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah. 3 for 3 on that one.
I say you would concur on that. Okay.
Yeah.
Then he ended up going to prison. What did he do? Like rob somebody out in Vegas or something?
It was like they felt like he thought they stole his memorabilia or something like that.
He stole his own stuff back. Like, dude,
he was going to get
his own once. Just
yeah. And then yes, but he's dead. So
yeah,
I don't know if people do rest in peace, OJ. Probably not.
Yeah, maybe
probably not. There's a lot of rest in peace. I don't think OJ gets one of those.
Also, another weird sidebar before we get back to a question I had for Anwar. Christopher threw this in, I think, to be mean earlier, or maybe he means A&M wins 7 games on their way to 10. Maybe that's what he meant by this. Give me a show of hands. Who thinks A&M wins no more than 7 games this year?
Let me look at their schedule again. I know it's a
look
tough
at their schedule. Yeah.
Because I'm thinking, I mean, without looking, I'm thinking 8's possible.
I don't think
know if 9 or 10
I don't think 8. Oklahoma and A&M seem to be kind of the opposites, I would think, as far as trajectories are concerned.
Well, the thing about Oklahoma is their schedule after Texas is just it's brutal. It is just brutal. You can look there and say, man, they might not win another game starting at Texas. So A&M, they have UTSA win, Utah State win, Notre Dame, Auburn is I think that's probably Auburn's like a half. Mississippi State's a win, 3.5. Florida, they'll lose. Arkansas, probably 4.5. LSU, they'll lose. Missouri, that gets them to 5. South Carolina, I think they would lose. Samford gets them to 6. And then Texas, I think 7 games is a perfectly reasonable. I think that's a perfectly reasonable deal. I think the one thing that we'll have to see is, Elko is saying this, and Chad, you probably know better than I do because I haven't gotten my brain fully wrapped around the 2026 NFL draft just yet. But from what the pundits are saying, it looks like A&M this year could have like 12 guys at the combine. 10 to 12.
And Elko's leaning in with some heavy confidence, saying 10 guys are going to get drafted. It's going to, that's what he's laying out. That's not a 7-win team. If he's going to have 10 guys drafted, and if Marcel Reed's going to make significant improvement over last year and all that, he's not telling me he thinks they're going to win 7.
Yeah, if they get 10 guys to the combine and win 7 football games, these Aggies are going to have pitchforks out there on Northgate.
Exactly. Christopher, thank you for throwing that in. And we are 74 days away from Texas going to Columbus and the first big weekend of 2025. Here's a question from Michelle. If A&M only wins 6 or 7, is Elko out?
Nah, not in year 2.
That's year 2, Michelle. Probably not. Catch asked me yesterday if he gets to year 5. I'm not sure about that, but year 3, I think he'll get to.
But aren't they still paying Jimbo's buyout? You're going to be paying 2 different buyouts. They can't be paying 2 different buyouts.
Alex, they're paying Jimbo until 2031. It's not even a joke. Like, that's true. They're paying him until 2031.
That's like what's the
baseball player you're thinking of?
The baseball player that every year gets
Bonilla.
And I believe Bonilla goes till 35. I think he's still we're coming up on that day. July 1st is not only a day I'm about to ask Anwar about in terms of NIL, but July 1st is Bonilla Day. That he gets the 1.19 from the Mets every July 1st. And I think
Bonilla.
Still going.
Think of the lifestyle change he's going to have to make in 2035. All right, honey, cold cuts for lunch from now on.
Do you think this takes 1 year? He's just like, you know what? I'm just going to burn this money, and I'm not going to care. He's just stacking and just logs into his bank account every month and just like to look at it.
Yeah, that's it. And Mark throws in Jimbo is using hundreds as coasters. Yeah, that might be true, Mark. Might be true. And so a big thanks to the chat who kind of got me there, Anwar. I do want to ask you about July 1st. But before we do that, speaking of July, if we get there, it means you're a little closer to football. And that means you need to make sure you have your setup ready for the season. Remember, AV Consultations can help you. Here's Tom and Camilla to tell you more about AV.
Hi, everyone. This is Tom McKay, owner of Audiovisual Consultations. We've been serving and assisting customers in the Texas area
I think I got this by now, old man. This is Camilla McKay, Audiovisual's social media and website manager. Our company has been helping you sit back and relax for the last 37 years. We come to you, and we're the kind of workers you want in your home. We give you all the advice at a great price, and we do a lot more than just audiovisual systems. We have employees capable of performing services like electrical contracting, heated floors, motorized shades. Am I forgetting anything, old man?
Yeah, we do surveillance systems, controlled lighting systems, and landscape lighting, computer networks, multi-room audio systems, and of course, we install some really cool theaters.
I had a feeling you were going to say that last one.
Now, am I forgetting anything?
Only this. Remember to hug your kids, laugh with strangers, and make love to whoever the hell you want.
So give us a call at 512-255-8678.
Or visit us online at avconsultations.com.
That's 512-255-8678.
All righty. If you guys want to jump in the chat, feel free.
Consultations can sure do some stuff. My God, they're like, they come to your house, they do pest control, they do they do it all. They do it all, man. My God.
Your back porch extension, Alex. Like,
Yeah.
you guys are covered. Yeah.
We can take care of it. $2 super chat from Jay, one of our favorites. What's up, Jay? Speaking of Jimbo, when does he
handle a French drain for me, you think?
Maybe. They probably can. When does Jimbo coach again? That's a good question.
Well, does he need to give up his buyout money if he coaches again?
Yeah.
That's a great. I'm not sure.
It's usually like, I don't know what his contract is, but usually it's like they, school makes up a certain portion of it, and they still get to keep, a lot of it though, all of it.
Yeah, they'd still have to negotiate all that, but I mean, it's a good
Jimbo's
question.
Not
I don't
exactly
know.
a spring chicken. I mean,
I was gonna say how old. That was like my question. Like how old is Jimbo? That would kind of be.
Yeah, he's got to be. Let me look at it here. He's got to be mid
59,
his 60s.
59. There you go.
Huh.
Yeah, gonna be 60 this October. So he doesn't turn 60 till October. That's still.
He might end up. He might end up at one of those like small programs kind of things where you look at the schedule like 3-4 years from now, and some schools coming in. You're like, oh snap! Like I forget. There was one that happened. Like where was like Bowden? Like Terry Bowden. Remember where he was at? Like Louisiana or something like that.
Like Monroe or something.
Yeah, Live Monroe or something small like that. Like I can see that in a few years where someone just is looking for a big name, and he comes in and takes over the little program, something to that effect. But I don't know. I question if his big days are done though.
Yeah, A&M's playing his alma mater this year, Samford. Maybe he'll end up back at Samford. That's the November pillow for the Aggies this year. Jay, thank you for that chat. Colby is giving us the actual number: 7.2 million a year until 2031. Yeah, that's a guaranteed contract, kids. Get those if you can. Get them to say the word guaranteed. That'll help.
We all went into the wrong profession, man.
Oh my Lord!
Golly, did we miss the mark?
Whew, guaranteed. And then
I think I like to be like a running backs coach in college. I feel like I can have a job for like 25 years. Just go from one city to another. Just
move every couple years though.
You got to move on. You got to move every couple of years. But I think they running backs coaches got a pretty long run though, Alex. Right? Those guys. They always find jobs.
Yeah, especially in college, if you can recruit, like they'll just be like, all right, if you can recruit, just stick him at running backs coach. I don't care if he's, so yeah, man.
All right, for all you Longhorn fans, Allen, it's good work. He'll work at A&M again after Elko leaves for Maryland in a few years. Touche. Fair enough. All right, so Anwar, here's my July 1st question for you.
Okay.
I've been thinking about all this, NIL stuff and the agreement that gets settled on a Friday and it got just kind of news dumped like, things do sometimes. What's your confidence level that everybody knows what's supposed to happen on July 1st and what can and can't happen and that this is all going to work real smoothly? Like, what's your confidence level 1 to 10?
Oh, that's going to work. Well, the caveat was you said smoothly, right?
Yeah.
Because, so like, for instance, and you say 1 to 10. I mean, if we're talking universal, I'm probably at maybe a 6-ish or so because, different schools are going to do it differently, right? Like, so like when I was talking to, Del Conte, I think Del Conte's it was at like the 75, 15, 5, 5, like 75% to football, 15% to men's basketball, 5% to women's basketball, and 5% to other sports, right? And so there was my thing there, like, okay, I get the distribution thing.
Yeah. And by the way, Anwar, when he said that, I've never heard that before.
That was the first time I heard about it as well.
Yeah, like that part of it. He said that like we're all supposed to know what it is. And you are the first person that I've heard actually explain each part of it because he didn't do that.
No, there was some deeper research in that. But, I guess my thing is, Chad, what I don't know, because I mean we're just in the era of lawsuits as relates to the NCAA and stuff like that, and so while this, I think the NCAA is kicking this thing down to the schools, and they're like, you guys just do it, right? Because NCAA is trying to protect their pot, like they're basically like, you guys can have whatever you want. Just don't come after our TV revenue money. Like, don't come after all our stuff. So you guys can do whatever. You want transfer portal, have at it, right? You want NIL, do what you want to do. Like, we're just going to, you guys do what you want to do over there. Just leave our money alone. This will kick it down to the schools with that how they go to distribute it. But my thing is, because even after that thing came out, Chad, you heard about lawsuits that were being filed from athletes who were saying, well, that's not fair. And so you're still going to have, I think, programs that's still going to face, now it'll be the schools themselves as opposed to the NCAA, but you still, what's going to stop, for instance, the pitcher from Texas Tech, right? The softball pitcher. Stop her from saying, like, yes, I got this amount in NIL, but from the school standpoint, I'm the face of the program. Why is a football player potentially making more than myself, right? And so you can start I think there's a rabbit hole that will be open to more lawsuits at some point, because some people are going to say, like, I deserve more, depending on the year. So I think it'll solve some problems, but I don't know when the lawsuits really ever end when this whole thing is concerned.
Yeah, it's going to be a wild, wild time. If you guys want to jump in, over 400 of you in the Specs chat. We do appreciate that. We appreciate these guys jumping in for the modcast. Alex has jumped in here in the last few minutes. Also, let's talk about some of our one of our great partners. Y'all know I love me some sinus and snoring specialists, and this is the place that can get you breathing better, sleeping better, feeling better. And as I've told you this week, they've got a new doctor at the facility, not just Dr. Slaughter. Dr. Slaughter's not going anywhere, but they've also added another doctor. Dr. Salvador brings over 10 years of experience from California. He joins the practice. That means there'll be more options for you, more morning appointment options, more afternoon appointment options, whatever works best for you. That's what they want to do. They want to make sure they keep those appointment times, but now they'll be able to offer even more. And they're still going to be able to do what they've always done. More options than anybody else for ear, nose, and throat, getting rid of your allergies, getting rid of your snoring and sleep apnea, sinus infections, all that stuff that's been bothering you. They can deal with it. Call them at 601-0303. You can also securely text on that number or go to sinussnoringent.com. Feel clear, rested, and healthy with Sinus and Snoring Specialists. Thanks to them and all of our great partners here on Orange Bloods Live. And again, if you want to jump in on the chat, you can. We've had an interesting chat day so far. The OJ anniversary has been mentioned by Chris Bennett, and Christopher took a little shot at the Aggies, which created a conversation, and we talked about Jimbo as well. But we were talking about this whole July 1st and what's about to happen. So this is, Amar, this is kind of my question too. And guys, y'all jump in on this as well. My understanding moving forward is that the stuff that was collective things, a collective deal, now there's going to be an oversight committee against the Deloitte company, right? That's going to be looking at these things. But I get
only if you disclose it as an athlete.
Right. Only if you disclose. So what freaks me out though, Alex, is when I read the phrase pay for play, I want to slam my head into a wall.
Well, that's what revenue sharing is.
It's one of the silliest things to me when they say, well, it can't be pay for play. It can't be that. Okay. So moving forward though, how do I make sure, like, what are they looking for that's going to make them stop a deal and then a kid's going to have to countersue? I mean, that's
well, there's going to be a function within the system where you can take it to private arbitration if you don't agree with what they've classified as being fair market value. And so, I mean, what the reporting had said was that, of the big NIL deals, right? The Arch Manning Red Bull deal. It's like all that stuff. the Deloitte's not going to say anything about those because that's a true free market kind of deal. It's like Red Bull actually wanted Arch Manning to be their guy for $1 million or whatever it was. They feel like they can get their return on investment for that, right?
Mm-hmm.
A collective giving the 5-star defensive tackle $1 million to do the Children's Hospital twice a year and go to Austin Pets Alive and to make five tweets a month about these various community projects or whatever. They're going to look at that and say, well, that's not really fair market value. That's not true name, image, and likeness, right? Now, that's just on the NIL side, right? That's on the collective side. Now, within the revenue sharing, that is technically the school taking over the rights to these players' name, image, and likeness, and the players granting them the exclusivity within the actual university's auspices, right, to use their name, image, and likeness on stuff, right? So selling jerseys, doing stuff, putting the Arch Manning's picture on a cup in the stadium, things like that, right? They'll have the right to do that because of the revenue sharing agreement. So it's technically still name, image, and likeness, but it's paying them to play because who knows if they're going to recoup their money on it. And that money that's part of the revenue sharing deal, the $20.5 million per university, which right now about 75% at most schools, according to Mitt Winter, who's one of the top guys about this, who we had on our show last week, about 75% is going to be going to football at most schools, up to 80 at others, 85 at others. So most of it's going to football. That money right there is not going to be subject to the auditors and the oversight of the Deloitte group, right? It's not going to be it's not going to be part of the clearinghouse. They can't look into it. It has nothing to do with them. Now, anything outside of that from a name, image, and likeness standpoint, whether it be from a collective or whether it be from a private entity, you're supposed to disclose it to the clearinghouse, and then the clearinghouse can tell you, okay, that's fine, we're signed off on it, or they could tell you, look, that's not fine, we have issues with it, we see your fair market values being this, and we can't tell you not to take it. But if you do take it and we go through this process, you could be declared ineligible to play, yada, yada, yada. So my main question, the main problem with this is there's no enforcement arm. Again, we're outside of the revenue sharing now, right? We're outside of this, say 75% of $20.5 million that's going to be available to the Texas Longhorns that has no questions asked, right? Now we're to the collective. We're to Texas One Fund. We're to whatever else, right? We're to boosters who are sending automatic $75,000 a month, who are giving them access to private jets. This kind of thing, right? That there's no enforcement. There isn't any way for them to say they don't have subpoena power over your financial records. They can't make you come to the table with them. They don't have any engagement with the Internal Revenue Service to be able to look at your books and say, well, hold on, wait, where did this $250K come from? They don't have anything like that. And so if you don't disclose it, then to me, it's like, if I'm an athlete, why would I ever disclose an external NIL deal? Like at the very best case, they can just tell me I can keep it. And then in what they said, in 70% of the cases that they had looked at to say what the clearinghouse would say that these are all right, so 70% of them said that they wouldn't pass muster if the ones coming from collectives. Now, the ones coming from private entities, they said 90% of those would have passed, right? So if you're getting money from a collective, if you're getting money from boosters, if you're getting this kind of money that has been just free flowing to get all these guys for the last 4 years, you'd be crazy to disclose it to the clearinghouse. So I mean, until that changes, I'm not sure exactly what anybody's going to be able to do.
Wow. What could possibly go wrong? What could possibly go wrong on July 1st? The other part of this, and Anwar, not to confuse it too much, but the other day I'm reading, and I can't remember if I heard Jeff say it first or saw it in one of his in a column, but there's another level to this where, and Alex laid it out. There's the $20.5 million, and there's the collective stuff. And then Ketch is saying that there's also, if you get payments set up ahead of time and you get guys taken care of moving forward, it wouldn't apply to either one of those things.
Yeah, that's why there was a little bit of a rush over the last several weeks, especially before the settlement stuff came in, where some schools, I talked to some people, at different schools, not necessarily here, where, there were programs that were telling them like, hey, we'll send you this, we'll guarantee you this much now if you commit to us, like guarantee, like here's 75, 100K, whatever it is. Like, wow, we want you to do this before the whole collective stuff, before the house settlement happens. So we don't know at the time. No one knew what the whole thing was going to be. And so there were people like, if we get this done now, you're good. Right. So obviously not everyone did that, but there was some pressure being put on kids to get it done. And so, yeah, there is kind of a grandfathered stuff in where you're like, all right, we're grandfathered in, you can't touch it. But I think Alex makes the greatest point, which is, I mean, if you don't have to tell anybody, why the hell would you? So, I mean, I think that's the,
and they can't do anything. That's the it's like it isn't just what if I get caught? There's no way of getting caught. There's not an enforcement arm.
Yeah. And the other thing too, I mean, quite honest with you, that it does not necessarily mean, nor does it negate that there still won't be a brown paper bag that can show up at your door for something that now it's not necessarily brown paper bags, by the way. It's a lot of it's crypto, and that's kind of a different conversation for a different day. But nonetheless, there's a crypto bag that's out there in the crypto world, which is create an account, and then somehow, some way, the stuff gets funneled in over there, blah blah blah, from somebody, and then go ahead and get okay. So there's that. But again, I had some people who not Texas, some people working for other universities tell me that's kind of how it's done. But you're still going to get deals. So mama can get this, someone can get that, so on and so forth. Handlers, all these other kind of things. So it won't negate it, but it'll be interesting to see how it's distributed on all factors when it's all said and done. But at the end of the day, like Alex says, I don't think much can be done or will be done. There'll be a whole lot of much to do about nothing.
Jay jumps back in with a $2 super chat. July 1st deadline is for current players. And Jay, that is true. And he adds in this. Let's get this clarification. There's nothing that can be done for 26 kids. They will all be under the new rule. But wait a minute. What if I'm in a state that allows NIL in high school?
Like California, like Mark Bowman.
Yeah. Right. The Mark Bowman's perfect example, right? Isn't that already done? If they got that deal figured out and they get him paid before July 1st, then that money doesn't fall under either umbrella, does it? Isn't that?
I don't know the legalities of it, but I wouldn't think so. If he signed a contract before July 1st, I wouldn't think so, but I don't know.
Again, Jay, what could go wrong? What could?
I mean, we're getting NIL for high school kids in Texas pretty soon, correct? Like that's within the next few weeks, right?
I think that's true.
Is that part of this last legislative session?
Yeah,
I think that's true.
But that'll go into effect on September 1st. That's when the new stuff.
Yeah, it'd be after July 1, so it would fall under the new rules, dude.
Wow,
who the hell can keep up? I can't.
I'm telling you, it's crazy.
And
Alex has a great point about the Deloitte part of it. Is your monitor? It's a monitoring system that is there. But to Alex's point, who's enforcing anything? Who's really doing?
It's completely
anything.
Voluntary,
right? Yeah, it's just going to be wild. All right, so we'll keep our eyes peeled for all of that as we roll through the show today. Before we wrap up, let me hit another one of our great sponsors and see if we can make you hungry. Look for this building in downtown Buda. It's called Taste on Maine. You've heard me talk about Hayes City Store, same people, Travis, Tamara, and the crew. This is their steakhouse. It is a casual steakhouse in downtown Buda. No stuffy dress codes, multiple bar areas. You see that gate to the left side of the building there? That one leads back to their treehouse bar area. It's beautiful back there, big, beautiful trees. You'll love that if the weather's right. If it's not, jump on inside there. They've got a great bar area there. I do recommend the Sam Elliott's Mustache if you're into a whiskey drink. The steaks are incredible. They've got an awesome brunch Saturdays and Sundays. I believe that's 10 to 3. Definitely get your reservation ahead of time. Taste on Maine, downtown Buda. Check them out. You will enjoy that. Hope everybody is doing well in June so far, getting ready for another big recruiting weekend. And it's the last recruiting weekend for these official visits. Jason, lay this out for people real quick. Once this weekend is done, is next week when we enter the dead period, or do we have to get all the way into July before the dead period?
Sunday at midnight. So the last week of June, all of July, August, all dead period. So actually starts Sunday at midnight. Yeah.
Wow. All right. There you go. So keep all that in mind, and definitely keep orangebloods.com in mind. I'll throw up a QR code for you. Get over to Orange Bloods. Jason's 321 article is out there. The content from all three of these guys as it is coming out. Big weekend this weekend where John Turntine and KJ Edwards and some of the other big names, of course, Jaylen Lot, who we talked about in this show, was last week. And so we'll, this weekend, more big names that are coming in. I'm seeing these super chats coming in. We will get them. ATX Bates, thank you for that one. And we'll grab some super chats here. A little $10 one from Colby. All right, we'll get you there. But again, this weekend is that huge recruiting weekend, and be on the lookout for that. All right, let's see. Big money first. I see three of them, and I see Colby first with a $10 super chat. Alex, lots of talk about Texas starting 4 new offensive linemen, but some saw reps last year. Does your deep dig show how much production is really returning?
How much production is? Clearly it's 4 new starters. I'm gonna have a column I don't know, Colby, if you're on Orange Bloods, I'm gonna have a column today that I'm putting up soon. I got the all 22 of the single best graded rep that I had for all 5, or actually 6, because I included Andre Kojo, of the guys who should be the starting offensive line next year. And so you can go see kind of the best of how these guys performed last season. But that'll be up a little bit later today. As far as, returning production, it's kind of hard because there's no way to really look at vacated targets or anything like that, as far as just the pure number of, do you guys know last year, so Brandon Baker played 60 snaps last season. That's all he's played. Neto Yamuzalo played 71 snaps last regular season. Andre Kojo played 26. Cole Hudson played 249. Now Cole Hudson, is this a snaps-based thing? Obviously, Cole Hudson and DJ Campbell sort of have the most returning snaps. Behind them, it would be Trevor Gooseby, then it would be Nato, then it would be Brandon Baker. And look, it's going to be a big difference. It's going to be a big change. But if you look at some of the reps that I put up today, you can see if these guys are going to be operating at their top level, they're going to be good. It's just a matter of, it's just like we said, whenever Tavondre Sweat and whenever Byron Murphy left, you can't replace, it's not just add water and have two of these new guys. But you saw last year, Vernon Broughton and Alfred Collins stepped up just fine. I kind of see this group as being similar to those guys. I have concerns about them, but if they come in and they can play to a reasonable level the same way that those guys did, then it shouldn't be too much of a drop off. But certainly, man, it's like, yeah, you lose guys that started for 4 years, 5 years in some cases, 3 years in the case of Kelvin Banks. You're going to have some lost production for sure.
Colby, thank you for the $10 super chat. We also got a couple. I think these may be connected from ATX Bates. Let's see. Yes. $4.99 super chat. Part 1 of 2. Will public schools versus private schools have different disclosing parameters? Before I get to part 2, that's an interesting question. That's a question I was going to throw at Ketch, and I forgot to in a show this week. State school versus private school,
on what level are we talking about?
He has to only be talking about the level within the actual 20.5 million.
That's what I was thinking, Alex.
Because those are budgeted school funds that you need to show where it goes. Now, those do not have any oversight from the clearinghouse, though.
Right, but in terms of the public stuff, Alex. So, good example: Texas and Baylor. does Texas, if Texas pays money to its quarterback out of the 20.5, will that be public? And if Baylor did the exact same thing, it wouldn't be public because
I don't know for sure, but I would assume because they would be open to freedom of information.
Coaches' contracts are that way. Why wouldn't?
Yeah. I would think it would kind of have to be. I think it wouldn't be like it would be publicized on a database. You would have to file a freedom. Onward probably knows more about the filing a FOIA request than I do, but you'd have to go through that whole process. I think that, but then even if you got the information, they're like, oh God, look, Arch Manning's only making $1 million. What people are going to realize is like, this is it's going to be multiplicitous where these different revenue streams are coming from the players, especially a place like Texas. It's not all going to be coming from that 20.5. Places like Texas are going to use this like an NFL salary cap, where they say stuff like, let's go ahead and give him this much as a signing bonus. Let's kick this much of the prorated deal the next year. We're going to get him that from the collective and get him that from, homeboy is going to be wiring him $75K a month and all the rest. He doesn't have to disclose any of that to the clearinghouse because that's all voluntary and yada, yada, yada. So nothing outside of that 20.5 million, like everything outside of that 20.5 million is going to be money that's players are going to be entering into private contracts with other people that we're just depending on their good graces to go ahead and disclose to the clearinghouse, which they're not going to be doing. Mm-hmm. So but I don't know for sure, but I would imagine just based on the way everything works it's a public university. You should probably be able to file a FOIA request to get the information about how, funds that are ostensibly in some cases publicly funded, how they're being spent.
Yeah, and then part two, and I'll let you jump in. Will that create scenarios where certain schools have a say of what they're paying and others don't, impact on recruiting with a question mark? But Anwar, would that be your understanding that the public-private thing, it would exist in this world as well?
What part are you talking about? You're talking about the impact on recruiting portion?
In terms of, like, to Jason's point, where the coaches' contracts are a matter of public record, where you can put in the request or whatever. Could media members like yourself put in a request, or anyone, I guess, put in a public records request and find out, okay, for a given year, how did Texas spend their $20.5 million?
Well, yeah. You'll be able to do that, right? You'll be able to do that. I mean, it takes forever to get those documents, but yeah, I mean, you can. I'm assuming by next year, someone will do that, or USA Today will do a deep dive into it, or something to that effect. So someone will be able to get that information, like you said, from the public programs, right? You'll be able to get that. I mean, hell, if you wanted to get ambitious, and I'm just like seriously ambitious, I mean, you could literally say, well, you know what? There's a meeting that's taking place in UT's football, office. I mean, that's a public place. Like, I should be able to attend the meetings, right? And sit in with Sark. Like, you could try. You could do damn near everything. It probably wouldn't succeed, but I'm sure you could. I'm sure we'll have an idea. But again, I think it goes back to what Alex says. That's just one portion of the pie that, that won't account for the deals that, his agent gets for him, or, for others particular things. It'll be the same thing where, Quinn Ewers from, last season, when he's got all these things, whether it's Dr. Pepper, whether it's the private jet company, whether it's all these other things that, he may receive something from Texas, but I mean, all of Quinn Ewers' money was obviously generated by his agent and all the big deals. So your agents will still be generating those big deals, but but the school portion of it, that's just going to be like your blanket out of your 75%. I don't think the majority of kids are going to be trying to live or die or eat off of that 75% that's coming in from that settlement, not from that 20.5.
Gotcha. ATX Bates, thank you as always for the super chats. If y'all want to throw a super chat in, we will definitely grab those. I think we got those cleared off. My man David Keith has a great nerdy recruiting question for Jason. I may get Jason to answer that one here in just a second. One of our partners we need to thank before we get out of here, and that is Hijack Poker. If you have not played online poker in a while, if you did not know that it was back, the good folks at Texas Card House have Hijack Poker fired up for you. Put it on any device you want. There's your QR code, hijackpoker.com. You might find yourself at a virtual table with Jeff Ketchum or Alex Dunlap or Tom G, one of our chatters, or who knows? You never know who's going to be there. Jason, I think, has a cousin who's really done some winning at Hijack Poker. So there's all kinds of folks at hijackpoker.com. Jason, does your cousin have any winning stories recently?
It's my cousin's son's. What is that? My second cousin? I don't know. He won like $100,000 tournament fairly recently, right down in the Houston area. So, yeah, watch out for him.
All right, Jason. Before we possibly close up here, I'll get you a nice nerdy recruiting question from David Keith. There's quite a bit of ambiguity in Jamarion Carlton's recruiting ranking. Do you view him as a 5-star recruit like some, or closer to a low-tier 4-star recruit like some? That is a bit of a range.
Well, I'm pulling up his recruiting rankings. I see nationally 24/7 has him at 33, Rivals at 46, On 3 at 49. I don't think that's much of a discrepancy at all. ESPN's at 95, but no offense to ESPN for all the things they do well. I don't pay a lot of attention to their recruiting rankings. Is he a 5-star? I don't see any individual service that has him as a 5-star. I don't think he's a 5-star, David. I saw him at the Navy All-American Bowl now. And he was good, but he still needs to show a little more before he's in that 5-star realm. I know some people who are close to him, watch him on a daily basis. They say he's got 5-star potential, but he's not there yet. But he's still a young guy. So can he get there? Absolutely. Do I have him? Would I put him as a 5-star right now? No, I would not.
All right. David Keith, thank you for that. And let's get a weird one in before we wrap. Gentlemen, Spaceballs 2 and the Naked Gun movie with Liam Neeson. Any interest for anyone on these movies? I'm good for Spaceballs 2. I do not care to watch this Naked Gun thing with Liam Neeson. Any thoughts, Anwar? Jason? None.
I'll probably watch both.
Maybe. Alex?
On video.
I mean, Spaceballs was one of my favorite movies growing up, but I don't watch movies, man. I'm too busy.
Unfortunately, we got to wait till 2027 for Spaceballs 2. Mel Brooks will either be 100 or 101 when it comes out. Let's hope
or dead.
Right. I'm hoping he makes the premiere. Like, that's just one of those things we'll watch.
Is Rick Moranis still kicking around?
Yeah, he's coming out of retirement for this. Yeah.
Yep. Coming out of retirement to don the helmet one more time.
Lord Dark helmet. That's what do you remember whenever Wes Welker was wearing that first kind of Guardian helmet ever?
Yeah.
Whenever he was having to wear that, man. Used to say he looked like Lord Dark helmet.
I thought a dark helmet when I saw Haynes King wear a helmet. For some reason, Haynes the helmet looked too big for his head. Yeah. At both A&M and Georgia Tech. So I always thought a dark helmet there too. Bates, thank you as always for a strange chat that takes us off topic, but we do appreciate you. Thank you guys for jumping in on the chat. Fellas, anything else we need to hit today before we wrap up? Everybody good? Awesome. Thank you guys for jumping in. We always encourage you to hit orangebloods.com. The big recruiting weekend is coming up this weekend with John Turntine and KJ Edwards and Richard Wesley and a big group of guys. Get to orangebloods.com. Jason's 321 article not only has that, you'll get the War Room coming up on Thursday night with the very latest, but also in Jason's 321, there's a list of upcoming commitment dates for different guys. Jason mentioned that Jaylen Lot is looking at July 8th now. There's some July 10th guys. There's July 4th guys. Jason would like all of you July 4th guys to move off of July 4th if you could do that. And there's even some late June commitment dates. So go check those out at orangebloods.com. Thank you guys for jumping in. Don't forget to check out all the great content. Alex and Cody have Football with Friends for you. That debuts at 6 in the evenings. Anwar's got Old Fashioned for you. We got the Modcast on Tuesdays, House Divided, all the good stuff. So check it out. Also, Jason and myself with the recruiting show, that'll premiere tomorrow, Wednesday at 10 a.m., brought to you by Longhorn Wealth Management Group. A full discussion of that list of guys coming in with John Turntine and KJ Edwards and all the rest. Thank you guys for jumping in. Thanks to almost 500 of you in the Specs chat as we get ready to close up. Y'all take care until next week with the Modcast, which hits you noon on Tuesdays. I'm Chad. That's Jason. That's Alex. Anwar was here with us. We appreciate him as well. We'll talk to you soon. It's Orange